Thank you, Mr Speaker. I so move. Mr Speaker, we were shocked as a country to learn on Friday through an email or a press release that was sent out at about 1 a.m. on Saturday morning that there had been a potential, a serious problem regarding the contamination of some of our milk product that has been sent overseas. So this has grave consequences for New Zealand. It has grave consequences both for our trading partners and our export markets overseas, but more importantly and more directly and more immediately, it has direct and obvious consequences on women, fathers, about their children and the formula that they were actually feeding their children, sir. And for many people, for many mothers and fathers around this country, they worried about the formula they had been feeding their kids because of the risk that botulism might have been introduced to them. That same fear, sir, was spread around the rest of the world where New Zealand product had been exported. So the response from the government, sir, and the way that the Fonterra responded was of critical importance to the way that we could at least alleviate the many fears that those parents actually had. Sir, the government was quick off the mark. I commend them for their speed in being able to do that. I believe that the response that they have made to the emergency up to now has been a good one. But we are still left, sir, in a situation where there are many, many questions that remain unanswered. From the point of view of the Labour Party, we want to stand with the government on this issue. This is an issue of New Zealand Inc. It is about our futures together. It's not about politics as such. It is about New Zealand and our reputation and the reputation of for our products overseas and offshore. So we will stand with the government and we will stand with Fonterra and assist as much as we can in providing those answers for parents. But as I said, there are questions, there are very serious questions about the way in which this problem emerged and the way in which the government's response has taken place so far. As I say, the ministers have responded quickly, but the question really is about the wider governmental response. I guess the first question, sir, that needs to be answered is why did this potential contamination take so long to detect? The problem was first alerted back in March. It took until March, until now, until we actually realised that we had been sent across and been sent offshore milk powder or milk whey that was contaminated with this bacteria. Why did it take so long to tell people about it? We would have thought that, given Fonterra's realisation after the DCD scare, that they would have realised that this sort of problem, should it get out, has innumerable and vast consequences on our export industries. Why has the Ministry of Health not played a major role in getting information to parents? The Prime Minister mentioned the Ministry of Health was involved in some of the discussions, but it's been notable, sir, by the absence of its voice in this particular case, that it hasn't been heard across New Zealand, hasn't been able to give that reassurance. In fact, many of the mothers who have been ringing in to get good, accurate information have actually been ringing Plunkett, and Plunkett emphasises, I guess, underlines the value and the reliance that we put on Plunkett in New Zealand. What protocols did the Ministry of Primary Industries and Fonterra have in place for handling these sorts of situations? Given the DCD scare, given the melamine scare before that, we would have thought that protocols were in place that would simply be a matter of plucking them off the shelf, so to speak, and applying them to this particular context. The fact that the information kept changing, the facts keep changing, sir, is a real concern. And there does seem to be an absence of strategic communications within Fonterra that point to some deeper problems within Fonterra around food safety and the way that they respond to it. So as I said in my speech earlier on, Fonterra is our largest company. It is a brand that we feel proud of. It is a it is a company, a cooperative that is owned by New Zealanders. It is owned by farmers. It is unique in that sense. It can never be sold offshore. It is uniquely and firmly implanted in our country. It came into existence in order to provide that clout, sir, in the world, on the world stage. And many people have contrasted the fortunes of Fonterra with the fortunes of our meat industry, which are far more fragmented, and as a result are not doing anywhere as well. It came in under a Labour government, and we had to overlook and override many of the concerns that the Commerce Commission brought up in regard to the existence of Fonterra. Yet, we are very proud of this company, as I said. We are very proud of a company that has been able to get out there and be the ambassadors, if you like, for New Zealand, to be the ambassadors of our brand, our clean, green image, which is about the 22nd or 23rd most recognised brand in the world. I think it comes just after or just before Dell Computers. New Zealand's clean, green, 100% pure brand. And Fonterra was the ambassadors of that brand offshore because it made up 28% of our export value. So when we have an incident like this, it creates real problems, not only with our milk exports, which have been shut out of Russia, where there are concerns in Vietnam and Malaysia, the possibility of being shut out of Sri Lanka, and obviously with China, where nearly $3 billion worth of product goes to China, but right across the world in the way that we are perceived internationally. Fonterra is a global company, a truly global company, and it has, sir, as I said, huge responsibilities. We have given them the right to be a monopoly in our country, and we believe that that was the right way forward. But with that right comes enormous responsibility. And as our only truly global company, that responsibility includes protecting our reputation as a source of safe, quality food. Our food commands the top price, the premium price, because we advertise it as clean, green, safe, ethically grown and sustainable. It's not born from large sheds of cows standing in stalls being fed grain or whatever supplements and chemicals. It is milk that comes from the grass, from the fields that we are blessed from in terms of our environment and our climate. But our reputation, sir, is built on trust. And it's built on trust as much as it is built on our technology. And the quality of that trust, it disappears as transparency fades. Transparency is hugely important for New Zealand in the way that we articulate around the world. We have a reputation for being the most honest and the most transparent country in the world. Transparency International puts us there at number one. That is part of our reputation, along with the reputation of being clean and green. And on this, sir, Fonterra has unfortunately let us down in the last couple of days. As I said before, its strategic communications have been hugely lacking. For me, seeing the changes in response over the last few days has been very disappointing. The representative that was on the John Campbell show Romano last night, couldn't give us a reassurance about what the food that was the milk powder that was actually out there on sale. Carry Care, thank you very much. Carry Care, whether that food, whether the batch numbers were at fault or whether the actual product itself was the problem. Now, we understand things can go wrong. Of course we understand that. But what we expect from our largest company, our largest global company, is that people expect to be told the truth, and they expect to be told in a full and fulsome manner the facts of the case. As I say, that is what we are known for, and that's what people in China, the government in China, is expecting from us as well. John Key was in China in April. We have an ongoing relationship with China that's hugely important. It has become our #1 trading partner in the world just a few months ago. It has enormous potential to grow even further than that, and our product there is regarded as the most trusted and the most safe. And so when we have their news agency calling our brand into question, sir, it creates enormous concern and enormous worry about the future. We will need to get this right, as Tim Gross has said today in the House, over the next days, weeks and months, getting this right and re-establishing ourselves as a exporter of quality food is going to be hugely important, and the way that we articulate that in the coming days is going to be very, very important. Over that time, after that time, we're going to have to work hard to build up the respect, the trust that has been lost as a result of this scandal. We have to ask more questions, of course. Have the ministers done enough? From the outset, from what I have seen, they certainly have not slackened in their task, which is good. But we have to ask questions about the Ministry of Primary Industries, whether that ministry has been too hands-off, or whether, in fact, it hasn't been brought into the loop as quickly as possible. And I suggest, sir, that it does point to an issue within Fonterra, that it keeps the Ministry of Primary Industries at arm's length, doesn't bring them in, and as a result of that, there is a culture of amongst some of the more senior people there of, dare I say, arrogance, that they know better than absolutely anybody else. Well, sir, I hope this brings about some humility from that organisation, because that organisation and that company, sir, is creating and has put at risk our exports. Those are the farmers in our country, but also, of course, sir, the whole brand of New Zealand, the clean green brand of New Zealand itself. The MPI has always pushed to grow exports. Often I believe it's done that, and it's overshadowed the emphasis that it's put on protection. Our biosecurity, our food safety are two aspects that used to be quite separate from MPI, and they've been merged into that one organisation, that one ministry. And those two together, sir, I believe maybe have lost their way in the bigger infrastructure of the ministry. This is one area I do believe that we need to go back to and see just exactly where they were, how they were brought into the current problems, and what role they actually played as well. But our first priority, once again, is the protection of families and their children, the protection of our international standing as a safe food exporter, and our nation's reputation. And we need to work much harder, much faster on that, because, sir, this issue is bigger than politics. But Fonterra, as I said before, is not bigger than Parliament. It is up to us in this House to come together and to make sure that everything that happens from this moment on happens in the best interests of both parents and of this country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very good speech.
I call the Honourable Minister, Nikki Kay.
Mr. Speaker, I welcome the opportunity to speak